Coming to you live from our studio here at Adesanwe Kanda in Accra. Coming up this evening, Tender Committee recommends engineers and planners for the Damang Mine lease transfer after a competitive bidding. We will dig into it in a jiffy. Also coming up, private transport operators under pressure to increase fares after key operator VIP Jeoun Transport announced an increase in fares across its nationwide routes effective the 8th of April, which is Wednesday. And we'll have details as Transport Minister convenes an emergency meeting with GPRTU and other players. Details of all of these and more coming up. We have business and sports at the tail end of the show, so do make a date and stay with us. Before that, let's bring you news summaries of other stories making headlines in Ghana.
Thank you very much, Martin. Now, the former presidential staffer, Dennis Miracles Abuaje, has urged all MPP members and supporters to rally behind the flag bearer, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, to win the next general elections in 2028. In a statement, he said, the MPP has a visionary, dedicated and committed leader who is driving a repositioned NPP built on the lessons from the past, happenings of the present, and vision for the future with fluid inputs from the masses. Now, VIP Jeoun Transport has announced an upward adjustment in transport fares across its routes nationwide, with the new prices set to take effect from April 8th. That's on Wednesday. Now, the company indicated that the revised fares will apply to both its standard tour and executive coach service, covering key routes from Accra to major destinations across the country. Now, the Northern Regional Police Command has recorded a major breakthrough in its fight against crime, securing 40 convictions through recent operations. The convictions, which include fines ranging from 2,400 Ghana cedis to 120,000 Ghana cedis and custodial sentences of between 15 months and 15 years, resulted from the activities of the Regional Special Operations Team, code-named Red Maria. ECG will soon commence replacement and upgrade of transformers across 8 substations in the capital. The exercise, which will begin on Wednesday, April 8th and run until Friday, April 10, covers 12 transformers across substations in Adenta, La, Teshinungwa, Bachuna and Lashibi. Now, each unit is being upgraded from 20 megavolts ampere to 30 megavolts. And that's it for the summaries here. Martin, over to you.
Thank you very much for the summaries. And it was brought to you by Christabel Success Trevor, letting us know what else is happening apart from the big headlines we have for you this evening, having to do with the fact that over the last few hours we have news confirming that engineers and planners are going to take full control of the Damang Mine, and we'll try and break down what exactly this means going forward vis-a-vis some of the concerns that have been raised across public conversations. And later, we'll talk also about transport fares. There are calls for transport fares generally to increase, but by what percentage? And what kind of mitigating measures can government put in place? We know that the minister in charge of transport has been holding emergency meetings. He held one a few days ago. That should be last week, Wednesday or Thursday, thereabout. We're told that another one is currently ongoing. We'll break all of that down for you in a moment. We start from the first one, which has to do with an indigenous mining firm, engineers and planners, having emerged as the highest scoring bidder for the takeover of the Damang Mine. The tender committee has recommended the grant of a mining lease to the company after it secured 93.15% in a competitive bidding process conducted by the Minerals Commission. The search for a new operator follows the expiration of the previous mining lease held by Health Goldfields and government's decision to reassign the asset to ensure continuity of operations, safeguard jobs, and maximize value from the mine for the state. According to the committee's report, 4 companies responded to the public tender announced in the media. Of these, 2 were shortlisted by the Minerals Titles Department of the Minerals Commission and subsequently submitted to the tender committee for detailed evaluation. Secretary to the committee, Joseph Kofi Iroko, explained the rationale behind the recommendations.
Right now, Hillgrove is a mining company. They are mining. So they are required part of local content or the obligation to have very local content strategies in place which they are doing. Of course, the new person coming to take over Damang will now begin to do that when they take over, and because they become properly a mining company and be required to basically provide those local content issues. But on the whole, the marks show that EMP clearly demonstrated or got the biggest score when it came to the technical proposals stage. Now, financial provisions. Before you can move to the next, which is the financial proposals, you must have scored a minimum of 80%. But based on the scoring, Hillgrove could not get the minimum 80%. So on that score, based on the notice, you cannot be taken to the next stage for financial proposal. We left EMP as only contender for that. And the requirement was that you must show evidence that you have access to funding in excess of 500 million USD. EMP demonstrated that by documentation that showed that at least Stanbic and ABSA have committed to funding the operations to the tune of 505 million USD. So when you combine the financial proposal and the technical proposal, the score that EMP got is 93 points. Almost 93 points. What the mass?
90.15.
So that's a high score when you combine both the financial and then the technical proposal.
After weighting them down.
Yeah, after weighting them down, that's how the score that they got. Yeah. So based on the requirements, the guidelines published, EMP met all the requirements, despite the monetary requirements, they met able to demonstrate that they had the technical and financial capability to be able to run the operation of the mine when it is given to them. On this score, the committee recommended that they be awarded the mining lease. That's in short what the committee did. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, so there you have it. The committee has just given us the thinking that went into why ENP is the most suitable candidate to run the operations of Damang Mine. And a bit of background like we gave earlier. An earlier institution known as the Health Goldfields were in charge of the operations of the Damang Mine. And when their lease expired, they decided to leave, but later changed their mind that they still wanted to continue with the operations and wanted an extension of their license, which was also refused by government, and opened up the ownership or the operations of Damang Mine to the public for interested institutions that have the capacity to bid for it. And we are told from today's press conference that a number of mines or a number of institutions put in their bid. It was later shortlisted to 2, and out of the 2, ENP seemed to be the most probable candidate with the capacity to manage the affairs of Damang Mine. Now let's also listen to the chairman of the committee, Innocent Marcus Haliga, who indicated that the process that they took was highly transparent and thorough.
Based on Regulation 2621C of LI 2176, which says that preparation of a report on the we are at the stage of Regulation 263 of LI 2176, where there will be a transmission of the report to the minister. On receipt of the report of the tender committee, the commission shall recommend to the minister to grant the mineral rights to the successful tenderer. At this stage, I am transitioning from chairman of the tender committee to the representative of the CEO of the Minerals Commission with the full powers he has vested in me. I am handing over the report based on Regulation 263 of LI 2176 to the ministry.
Right, so you heard Innocent Marcus Haliga, who is the chairman of the committee put together to look into the potential takeover of Damang Mine, which at the presser at the end of their mandate, they've come out this evening or earlier today to say that EMP has been giving the nod to take over. So let's now engage Pakwesi Shandov, who is spokesperson for the committee. Mr. Shandov, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Yeah, good evening, Martin. The pleasure is over.
Can you walk us through? I mean, the committee says that engineers and planners scored 93.15%. Are you able to help us look at the criteria that went into this final decision to give the operations of Damang Mine to EMP?
So, at the very beginning, when the tender was opened, 4 respective companies applied accordingly. But first of all, before we progress, the voice that was just played is the voice of the chief director. It's not the voice of the chief director of the ministry. I mean, that's not the voice of the
chairman.
You mentioned that the voice was that of Innocent Marcus Haliga. No, he is the chief director. He received the report at the ministry. Right. The voice that was played was that of the chairman of the tender review committee, who is also the deputy CEO at Minerals Commission. I just thought I should offer that clarification.
Right.
But with respect to the substantive matter, so at the very outset, 4 respective companies bidded applications in that respect, vis-a-vis Vortex Resources Mining Group, Engineers and Planners, His Goldfields, and then Maripoma Mining Services Limited. Now, out of these 4, Vortex Resources Mining and Maripoma were disqualified at the outset because there were certain mandatory requirements they were supposed to fulfill, which included the proof of being wholly owned by Ghanaians, also a valid tax clearance certificate, a valid split clearance certificate, a valid VAT clearance certificate, among other requirements. Those were the mandatory requirements which those 2 did not fulfill. I'm talking about Vortex and then Maripoma Mining Services. So, under the circumstances, we were left with engineers and planners and then Heat Goldfields. But following verification, only engineers and planners, like I said, and Heat Goldfields progressed. But even at that level, Heat Goldfields failed to achieve the minimum qualifying score of 80%. And its financial proposal was therefore not evaluated in line with the terms of the notice. And so after that, it was apparently clear that only EMP had both financial and technical capacity to receive the transfer of the mines. Indeed, they met the 500 million minimum threshold, which the Heat Goldfield didn't quite satisfy. And so under the circumstances, the recommendation, therefore, is that the mines be accordingly transferred to engineers and planners in that particular respect.
Right, and I heard you mention Heath Goldfields. They were the company that was in charge before their mandate expired, right? Their certification expired, right?
No. Heath Goldfields have not been in charge. They were not the ones in charge. It was Abosso Goldfields, actually, not Heath Goldfields. They actually only tended wanting to take over the transfer.
Right. So now, again, that gives us an idea, and I could hear strongly that one of the key criteria was that it should be a wholly owned Ghanaian institution. Why is that?
Well, because local content has become a very topical issue in the management of our mineral resources. Indeed, over time, there have even been certain connoisseurs and pundits in the game who have argued that, look, it's high time we give our natural resources to Ghanaians, so to speak, so that we are able to benefit entirely and fully. And government also backs that proposition. And so that is why in these times we have made it a non-negotiable requirement, so that, I mean, the communities where the mineral deposits are abundant will be able to see development, because more often than not, it appears we have a situation where investors come, they do the excavation, yes, they pay royalties and all of that, but comparatively, we are Rather, I do not want to say for the want of a better word, but I mean, it appears normally we are rather shortchanged, so to speak, for the want of a better word. Government wants to migrate from that dispensation and come into an arena where now Ghanaians will benefit fully, and that is why the requirement now is that, I mean, for the purposes of this mine, is that the successful firm must be fully owned by Ghanaians.
And that is all well and good, and I'm sure there are many who support and endorse that component of the whole idea that if you have Ghanaians in the helm of affairs with a capacity, it is all well and good that you give them the opportunity to, show their mettle. But for this particular company that has been given the nod, engineers and planners, there are public conversations also about the linkage of the owner to the presidency. The voice we played earlier confirmed how thorough and transparent the process was. But are you able to help us decouple the public perception that his association with the president must have played a role?
No, the successful bidder under the circumstances is engineers and planners. We all know belongs to Mr. Ibrahim Ahmad, who is the president's brother. But despite the familial ties, the committee in its work embarked on a thorough and dispassionate review process that had no recourse whatsoever to any kind of association, politically, relationally, or otherwise. And so it was purely based on merit. Indeed, if any of the three who bidded were able to meet the criteria in a manner that surpassed that of engineers and planners, they would have been recommended accordingly. And so it is not true that the current recommendation is cooked, as it were, or as the critics have had to say, or it is something that has already been premeditated. As we progress, we here at the ministry will be offering further and better particulars and clarifications on the entire process. And I'm sure that by the time we are done, we finish exhausting that comprehensive process, we would all see that indeed meritoriously the recommendation is very valid, devoid of any politicization whatsoever.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for making time to speak with us this evening, Pakwesi Shandoff.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine.
And he's a spokesperson for the committee, and you also had some clarity he brought to the conversation about how engineers and planners finally got the bid to manage the operations of Damang Mine. So we have in studio, Wisdom Safo, who is with our research desk here. He's also been trying to read through the report and crunch out some specifics that may have not, caught the public eye. For instance, what were some of the key operational considerations in, evaluating who has the capacity to manage the Damang mines? And he's joined us in studio, Wisdom. So give us some of the key aspects in this report.
So, Martin, if you look through the report carefully, what caught my attention was the evaluation criteria, right? And there are about 5 to 6 evaluation criteria here. We talk about the relevant experience, methodology and work plan, key staff qualification, equipment and materials, safety and environmental compliance, and local content. But they have assigned weights, in other words, points to each of these criteria. Now, the highest point went to relevant experience, and it is not a rocket science. If you want to manage a big mine like Damang Mine, you should have the relevant experience that you've been tried and tested, and you can actually manage it. And it was given 50 points. Okay. Then we move on to the methodology and work plan. Before you start any mining operation, you have to state out what you are going to do, how you plan to do the forecasting, what you plan to achieve from the mine, together with your revenue projection and all that. That was given 10 points, right? Then we have the key staff qualification. You have to show proof that you have the technical staff, the key experienced professionals to handle the operations of the mine. That was also given 10 points. Then we have the equipment and materials. Of course, you can't mine without heavy machinery and moving machines. Yeah. And that one too was given 10 points. Then we have safety and environmental compliance. These mining operations come with its own environmental risks, land degradation and all that. So you have to make sure that you have the necessary things in place to mine within the EPA standards, right? Then the last one is the local content. You know, if you are mining every local or indigenous mine, it has a ripple effect on the particular locality that you are mining. So you have to have what you call the substitute effect of giving them something to replace what you are taking away from them. So you have to also satisfy that criteria as well. And if you add all of them, you sum it up, you get 100 points. And after the evaluation, the Engineers and Planners Limited had 95.4%. And if you did, after they did all their total scoring, they reduced it to 93.15. Then the Heath Goldfields Limited had 63.4. So apparently, after doing all the evaluation, they had to award the contract to Engineers and Planners. So the recommendation that was given was Engineers and Planners is declared a successful bidder and recommended for the Damang Mining lease. Martin.
Right, and so they had 93, and you say Heath got what?
60.
Heath Goldfields?
Yes, so Heath Goldfields had less than 80%.
Okay.
They didn't meet the threshold. So for the technical score, they had about the Heath Goldfield had 63.4. 63.4% of the technical. So after doing all the technical evaluation, they had 63.4, and the Engineers and Planners had 93.15.
Okay.
And one of the main reasons why they awarded to Engineers and Planners was they showed that they have finance assets.
Yes.
You heard Pakwesi Shanov mention that they showed that they have proof of about $505 million in funding.
Yes,
to start operations, and that was what led to their recommendation and finally their
and that's quite significant because mining is is capital intensive. So
I tell you, and it's very important. We talk about this because this is a time where we have a mining sliding scale mechanism that has been presented to Parliament, so that we will get more royalties.
Exactly.
So it's
it's good, and it also helps us pay attention to what's happening, in the mining sector. Following what has also been happening in Parliament. Thank you very much, Wisdom Safo, for the inputs you've brought to this conversation. Let's now look at the legal perspectives that are also of importance. Joining us now is Austin Bracco Powers, a private legal practitioner. Mr. Powers, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM. Hello, Mr. Powers.
Yeah, good evening, Martin. I hope you are doing well.
Yes, I am. Thanks for joining us. To start with, is it safe to say that based on the committee's recommendations, solely and straightforward, Engineers and Planners or the company that won the bid can go ahead with the operations of Damang Mine?
Martin, let me say good evening to your listeners. I think the issue is not who won the bid, but whether the process was lawful, transparent, and free from undue influence. It is important to situate the conversation and say that public resources or public resource concessions, especially in mining, must comply with due process, transparency, and fair competition. So the position is that even if Engineers and Planners scored highest at 93.15%, as is being reported, that alone does not end the legal inquiry. The key question that all Ghanaians should be asking is, was the process credible and defensible? Now, the involvement of Ibrahim Mahama, the brother of John Dramani Mahama, raises a perception issue, even if no wrongdoing occurred. In law, Martin, perception matters almost as much as reality. So you ask whether was there any direct or indirect political influence? Were all bidders treated equally? Were evaluation criteria applied consistently? If these questions are not convincingly answered, I think the process risks being challenged. So to your question, the government decision based on the Lands Ministry's Tender Review Committee must meet constitutional standards of accountability and fairness. This is especially important because mining resources belong to the people of Ghana. And when you read the Constitution, it has invested in the president to be exercised or used in the name of the people. You get it? Yes. So, Martin, instead, I will insist on three key tests: legality, transparency, and integrity.
We are yet to see.
My advice to the government is, before any final approval, the government should publish the evaluation report for everybody to see whether or not there has been transparency in the conduct of the entire exercise.
Yes.
2, government must ensure independent oversight or audit of the process. 3, there must be clear. Government must clearly address any conflict of interest concerns, because it is one of the arguments that is being pushed forth into the first minister conversation.
Yes, but from the legal perspective, sorry for coming in, but from the legal perspective, irrespective of how someone may be related to an entity or an individual, we are all related somewhat to someone, right? But should we be more focused? Does the law pay attention to the competence of an institution or an individual vis-a-vis how they relate to someone? Is there a component of our law that says that we really do not care, although there is an issue of conflict of interest that might come up, but we rather would look at the capacity of an individual managing a state institution rather than whom that individual is related to? Is there any aspect like that?
The law is very clear. When you look at the Constitution and when you look at the Public Procurement Act 2013, Act 663, it's clear where there are suspicions of conflict of interest. We must make sure we do everything to minimize it. And this presents a clear case of conflict of interest or concerns or perception of conflict of interest. That's why I'm advocating for the government to publish the evaluation reports and ensure that there's an independent oversight of or audit of the process. Because the thing is that the perception, like I said, in a way, it even immobilized the entire process.
Right.
Because of the relationship between the president, even if engineers and planners is competent, but for the relationship, Martin, it raises concerns. And that is why if the government believes that the process was independent, that the process was transparent, and that there was due process, they must put all the matters into the arena. Let people know that there wasn't any influence or de-influence from the president or anybody related to the president or anybody acting under the authority of the president.
Right.
These are matters, Martin, they are legal. Conflict of interest is a legal issue. It's a legal concern that has found expression in the 1992 Constitution, in the Public Procurement Act, as well as other laws of this country. So it's a major concern, legal concern, that it's a legal threshold that the government must meet.
Right.
And it shouldn't be said that engineers and planners is competent or the company is competent by reason of that they are awarded. But we must go beyond that, beyond the competence. What were the criteria set down?
Okay. What
happens with other companies that did not meet or that did not receive the approval of the tender review committee? And we should get an independent authority to review the entire process and put the matters in the public, so that it will lay to rest any perception or suspicion of conflict of interest. Martin.
Okay, certainly. And the ministry, in an interview just before we came to you, gave the confirmation that the report will be made public. So we'll definitely get to see this criteria that you're referring to. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Mr. Powers.
Thank you.
Austin Braco Powers is a private legal practitioner and has been throwing some legal perspectives into the conversation regarding all what many of you have also been saying with regard to the committee's report giving recommendation for the Damang Mine to be handed to engineers and planners to operate. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition. Let's shift our attention to transport issues now. And a major private transporter, VIP Jeoun Transport, has announced an increase in fares across its nationwide routes effective Wednesday, the 8th of April, citing rising operational costs. The adjustments affect both standard and executive coach services, with fares from Accra to Kumasi, Tamale, Sunyani, and other key destinations all going up. The move comes ahead of a scheduled meeting between transport operators and the Ministry of Transport, raising questions about broader fare adjustments across the industry. Under the new pricing structure, passengers using standard services will pay 120 Ghana cedis from Accra to Kumasi, 170 cedis if they are going from Accra to Sunyani, and 290 cedis from Accra to Tamale. Fares to northern destinations have also been adjusted, with travel to Bolgatanga set at 330 Ghana cedis, while 320 Ghana cedis. Executive coach services have also been affected. Fares from Accra to Kumasi will now be 150 Ghana cedis, Sunyani 200 Ghana cedis, and Tamale 360 Ghana cedis. Right, and we go on to give you further routes and how much they're going to be costing. So for longer distances, going further up from Accra to places like maybe Navrongo and Boko, we are told that passengers will have to pay 420 Ghana cedis for Navrongo and 430 for those going to Boko. The company has also revised intercity fares from Kumasi with transport to Tamale now costing 210 cedis and 250 cedis for those going from Kumasi to Bolgatanga. And so it paints a picture of how much you should be looking at if you already have not, paid attention to this. It tells you that henceforth, if you're going to be using the VIP transport, you want to use their services to any of these major destinations: Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, Sunyani, Tamale, and its environs, etc. The prices have gone up. So we have to just make do with what we have. And I'll just take you through briefly in case you haven't heard and you are now probably on your way. Jeoun VIP Transport says that from the 8th of April, which is coming Wednesday, they have changed their prices or reviewed their prices upward. So from Accra to Kumasi is now, you will pay 120 cedis from Accra to Kumasi, 170 cedis from Accra to Sunyani, 290 cedis from Accra to Tamale. For those going to Bolgatanga and Wa, you are supposed to pay 320 Ghana cedis for Wa and then 330 cedis for Bolgatanga. That is if you are moving from Accra. Then, if you are using the executive coach services, you are likely to pay from Accra to Kumasi, that will be 150 cedis now. From Accra to Sunyani, that's 200 cedis now. And Accra to Tamale, that's 360 cedis now if you're using the executive coaches. And for those going further up north, like from Accra to Navrongo or Accra to Boko, you are now supposed to pay 420 Ghana cedis from Accra to Navrongo, 430 cedis from Accra to Boko. And we know that another major hub, the two biggest cities, Accra and Kumasi, if you are in Kumasi listening to us, our sister stations or online, 3news.com, then just bear this in mind that if you're going to be traveling from Accra to Tamale, from Kumasi to Tamale, your fare now is 210 cedis, and then from Kumasi to Bolgatanga, you are paying 250 Ghana cedis. Right, and while VIP Transport is not a member of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, its decisions could also have ripple effects on the sector. So let's get some further understanding of what these implications could be. Samuel Amoa is Deputy Public Relations Officer of GPRTU. We seem to have lost him briefly, but we'll try and get him up on the line to see what kind of conversations they intend to be having with the Transport Minister. You'd recall last week here on the show, we told you what the Transport Minister himself has been indicating, that they are trying to plead with the transport owners to reconsider the upward increase of their fares. But now that some individuals who are not necessarily members of GPRTU have taken the initiative, what does this mean? Samuel Amoa, Deputy Public Relations Officer of the GPRTU, has joined us. Mr. Amoa, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Just for purposes of clarity, is VIP Jeoun Transport a member of GPRTU?
Thank you for having me once again. Let me say good evening to you and your listeners. Yeah, VIP is not part of GPRTU. It's a body on its own. They don't belong to the GPRTU.
But they are a private institution.
Yeah, they are a private institution. They all, we all fall under the transport ministries. But there is freedom of association We have the GPRTU, the cooperative, the Protoa, and others. You know, it's the same way. There's another union called the VIP. Yeah.
Okay. And the question was premised on the fact that your association is the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, which seems to be like the mother body. So it's interesting to note that, yes, there's a freedom of association, but a key, transport service like VIP is not a member. They have rolled out price increases from the 8th of April. What does the GPRTU make of this?
Okay, so when we had this information that the VIP has come up with an increment which is supposed to start from tomorrow, we were not happy about it. The reason being that although, as I stated earlier, there is freedom of association, we have, number of transport unions in the country, but we all work under the transport ministries. Anytime there has to be a transport fare adjustment, we meet, the transport ministries for, negotiation. Then we'll come up with a certain percentage of increment that we will give to our members to comply with. So when we gave government the 2 days ultimatum that they should do something, about the cost of the price of the fuel, so that it will come down, else we will also increase our fares. The transport minister came up that, they are working on things, and that because of the Easter festive, like today, you engage us that we'll sit down. Our proposal was that, the first proposal was that, like, government should try, and if maybe they can suspend some of the taxes on the petroleum products so that the fuel price will come down. But then if nothing happened and all what we are asking for fails, then it means that we also increase our transport. So we are still on this, conversation and negotiations where the VIP also has come up with the, their increment, which is supposed to start from tomorrow. So we are not happy with it, because if it happens like that, then it also pushes our members to also maybe, do some certain things which we don't want them to do.
And what are the key issues you intend to discuss with the transport minister? We are told that there is an upcoming meeting. They held one with you earlier last week where it was the same issue of do not increase your transport fares yet.
Yes. What we wanted to do is first to increase our transport fares, because the fuel that we are buying, all that we want is when you go to the fuel pump, the amount we see will determine where we also, put our charges. But then, although we sent a proposal that they should try and see if something can be done to reduce the petroleum product. So our meeting with the transport minister is to hear from him whether there has been an intervention for the government to do something to reduce, or if not so, we also send our proposal by increasing the transport fares. But today, whilst waiting for his call, we had a call from him that President has called for an emergency cabinet meeting to discuss our issue. And so therefore, we should hold on so they meet and take decision before we also know what to do. So that is what is happening now.
And I'm sure you would raise the concern that a further delay would let members take, decisions which might not be in favor of the greater, the greater good. Because if you go as a unit, but then a member like VIP has already taken the lead to increase their fares, what kind of bargaining are you going to go with to the minister with? And how can that influence or affect your bargaining power when you meet the minister?
Okay, so right now VIP has come up. We understand that they come up with about 25% increment. And what we also, want to do now is to wait to hear from the minister what, the outcome of their meeting with the president. And we don't want it to take, a longer period, because there is a lot of pressure being mounted on the leadership of GPRTU. So we want to give them, from today, tomorrow, and hopefully by Thursday. And if nothing is being done, then we also, propose whatever increment that we want to, bring across.
All right. We are grateful for your time, and thank you for speaking to us.
You're most welcome, sir.
And you heard Samuel Amwa, Deputy Public Relations Officer of the GPRTU. What do you make of this proposal? And clearly, with the upcoming meeting with the minister, we wait to see what the key issues that they will be discussing would include or would entail, because it definitely would affect all of us. Issues of transport are key to almost every one of us. So do let us know what you should be expecting from that meeting, what the outcome would look like, and what transport fares go up or stay as government is promising. Details of all of that will come up with us. This is 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. We have many more stories for you after this. Three FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition, and your messages are always very welcome. We'll definitely be reading some of them to the rest of the world. We are shifting our attention away from transport now and go to the courts, because the Office of the Special Prosecutor has carried out coordinated court-authorized searches at 5 fuel depots and facilities linked to the bulk distribution companies as part of a major corruption investigation in the downstream petroleum sector. The operation, according to the OSP, is tied to a suspected scheme involving the under-declaration of petroleum imports, falsification of product types during depot transfers, and widespread tax evasion. Preliminary findings suggest alleged collusion between some bulk distribution companies and officials within key state institutions, including the National Petroleum Authority, the Ghana Revenue Authority, and the National Security Secretariat. The OSP further indicates that intermediaries may have been used to facilitate illicit financial transactions linked to the scheme. Companies currently under investigation include Platinum Oil and Gas Limited, Centuo Oil, Aquaba Oil, Sahara Oil and Gas Limited, and Chase Petroleum Ghana Limited. The Special Prosecutor's Office says investigations are ongoing and indicated that all persons found culpable will be prosecuted in accordance with the law. Let's speak to the Executive Secretary for the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, Mr. Duncan Amwa. Mr. Amwa, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening. Thank you for having me, 3FM.
Right. What would your immediate reaction be to this news that the OSP, out of the blue, probably on the blind side of many, had been undertaking this investigation? They've actually even named companies they believe are complicit, and that in the coming days we'll get to hear more.
I would expect that timing would be very, very key in the things we do as a country. And I think that the OSP, yes, is clothed with all authority, of course, to go after things that it suspects not to be clean, and for that matter, corrupt or tainted with some corruption or corruption-related offenses. And so they probably will be acting within the law. The only challenge some of us would have at this point, when I read the public notification, and of course, earlier in the day, I had already picked signals that officers of the OSP had already gone to these fuel depot spots, Chase, Sahara, Centuo, Aquaba, Platinum, and all of them. These are places where you are simply going to get your fuel from to get to the filling stations to be able to buy. I just posted on a public platform a situation where Kenya is now reeling under fuel shortages. And so, yes, OSP has the power to do what it's probably doing, but I would caution that the timing, we should be circumspect completely. We are not in normal times, especially at a time or on a day as this when the United States president or government is already assuring that the war is going to probably fester and he's going to do whatever he has to do tonight, you get every indication that the challenges that we are witnessing as far as the supply disruptions or suppression is concerned, we are far from getting to an end. South Africa is experiencing challenges with fuel. It's already gotten to Kenya. We may be lucky to have had stocks, right? But at this point in time, I do not even think that, like I was cautioning on your network the weekend, even Ghana Maritime Authority, I do not think should be going after every cargo that comes into the country, because countries are looking to buy fuel top dollar. They don't get it. If this is the time that we are going to clamp down on our petroleum depots, we could be in for a long ride. And I think that maybe the OSP could give some breather, continue with the investigations, but ensure that it does not disrupt activities or operations of these fuel depots, because that would have a biting tail on the Ghanaian petroleum consuming public. These institutions that you mentioned, they handle volumes, they handle millions of liters. If you talk of Central, you know what volumes you are dealing with. If you talk of Chase Petroleum, you know what volumes you are dealing with. So I can only caution that we don't let this escalate. Right. Otherwise, shortages may be a bit sooner than we probably would be even expecting it.
Right.
Simon.
And for purposes of clarity, so you say the OSP has the authority to investigate if they see something fishy going on, but you are in the same breath saying that the timing of it isn't right because of the current global development. So how do we balance the two? And is it that they should look away if wrongdoing is ongoing because of the current circumstances? I'm struggling to, find the fine line you are drawing here.
So what I'm indicating is that timing is important. Ensure that you carry on whatever investigations, but do not disrupt the work of some of these key institutions. You recall when we got into COVID, the things we used to call essential services, the fuel stations and the depots were considered very essential, because once you shut them down, you are cutting back on volumes that ordinarily would have gone through them. Mind you, the Chase depot, right, would serve a larger portion of, whatever we consume at the filling stations. Central is also of significant numbers. Aquaba, Platon, Sahara, these are not very small, outposts.
Right.
That you can say, okay, we are investigating, so probably we need you to shut down, or we need you. If you do those things around this particular time, the effects will be telling on the Ghanaian in no time. And I think that I am only calling for caution. I'm only calling for restraint. I am only calling that for the OSP to carry out its investigations. It has every right, like I said, clothed by law.
Right.
But timing is very essential. And again, the critical role that these depots and the refineries that have been mentioned, they play, I would hope that the OSP will carry out investigations without any attempt at all whatsoever to disrupt the flow or the operations.
Is that possible? Is that possible that they can still undertake an investigation, and from all indications they have found something they believe they can stand on to maybe start prosecuting? But you want all of that to happen. However, if maybe one of the key decisions they need to take will be to shut down the operations of the filling station or the company, they shouldn't do that, because it's likely to have a cascading effect. Is it even possible to do that? Investigate and still allow the company to operate?
You see, what I would think should happen, the Energy Ministry should get involved in this. When you talk of fuel security, you are looking at national security concerns equally. National security should be interested in all of this. It cannot just be said that, okay, we suspect something has gone wrong. At a time like this, when I have indicated, countries like Kenya are reeling under shortages. If this is the time we choose to go after our depots, right, in the name of criminal investigation, just that we may disrupt operational bits, we could have a problem on our hands. And I'm just cautioning that, indeed, the OSP should not be that excited that, okay, there could be a case here or not, so we are going to, as it were, disrupt anything. If they can carry on their investigations without disrupting any of these depots so that they can continue to put products on the market for the truck driver not to be inconvenienced, I think it will be a win-win for everybody. But if there's an attempt to disrupt operational flow of these Centuo, the Sahara, the Chase, the Platon, Akwaba, I think we'll be in for some trouble. So the Energy Ministry should be interested. National security should equally be interested, because these are not ordinary times. Other countries are feeling the pinch already. We should not, at this point, be seen to be doing things that suggest that, well, we are not minded by whatever is happening globally, nor things around us, and we can do anything at any time. Timing, for me, is key here, and I think that the OSP should investigate, but should allow these depots to continue working, at least in the interim, until such a time that you and I are quite sure that even if you took all these companies off, the stream, you would still be able to function normally as a country. Timing, for me, is important here.
Mr. Amwa, thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. Duncan Amwa, Executive Secretary, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, and clearly the Special Prosecutor will definitely be caught between a rock and a hard place, how to delicately balance this investigation it is currently undertaking and what this could mean going forward. But, well, we'll see what the coming days hold. We'll definitely update you when we do get any further input to this. This is 3FM 92.7. Time now for the latest in the world of business.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up tonight, CD records mixed but stable performance as demand pressures from oil imports trigger mild slippage despite strong year-to-date gains. I am Bismarck Kausa. This story and others lined up for you. Please stay. Now to the details. The cedi has posted a mixed but largely stable performance over the past 2 weeks, recording slight losses against major currencies amid rising foreign exchange demand. In the interbank market, the cedi weakened against the dollar and euro while registering marginal gains against the pound. A similar trend was observed in the retail market, where the local currencies slipped against the dollar but appreciated against the pound and euro. According to Data Bank research, the recent pressure on the cedi is being driven by increased demand for foreign currency, particularly from bulk oil distribution companies responding to high crude oil prices, with central bank interventions helping to maintain relative stability. Moving on, Ghana's economy is projected to remain resilient in the face of escalating geopolitical tensions between the US and Iran, bolstered by record high gold prices and a surge in mineral exports, according to the latest report from Fitch Solutions. The report notes that Ghana's status as a net oil neutral trader and the implementation of a new gold royalty regime are key structural factors that will help stabilize the cedi and maintain fiscal discipline despite global market volatility. There is more in the following 3 business news report. Despite a 14% dip in global gold prices since last February 2026, driven by a strengthening dollar and rising treasury yields, Gold continues to trade at historic levels. As of March 27, the spot price sat at $4,413 per ounce, nearly triple the 10-year average. Fitch Solutions Commodities team is forecasting an annual average gold price of $4,600 per ounce for 2026. This would represent a 33.7% increase over the 2025 average, providing a significant cushion for Ghana's external sector. The report highlights several factors keeping Ghana shielded. Gold output is expected to rise by 7.1%, fueled by increased activity at Bibiani, Chirano, and Namdini mines. Gold export revenues are projected to hit $23.7 billion, accounting for 1.5% of GDP, nearly double the historical average. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Fitch Solutions projecting Ghana's economy set to weather US-Israel-Iran tensions as gold prices soar. And that brings us to the end of the business segment. Andrew Sefa is CFO of Sports News. Please stay.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Andrew Sefa Bamfo. We start off from boxing where Legacy Rise have lined up a number of bouts set to take place at the Bukom Arena on Friday. Now, headlining the card is Theophilus Alote, who will face Namibia's Jonas Erastus in what is expected to be a fiercely contested clash. The co-main event would also see Ahmed Abdullah go head-to-head with Obaro Eradajeyi, with several other rising stars also build on the night. Now, speaking ahead of the event, Chief Commercial Officer for Legacy Rise, David Aloka, outlined the long-term vision behind the initiative, emphasizing the platform it provides for developing Ghanaian boxing talent in the country.
We've had some incredible fighters over the span of several years, from the DK Poisons, we've had so many great fighters that have come out there, to the Zuma Nelsons, but we had a period of time of a lull, right? And the talent, we know that the talent is there. We know that boxing is the beating heart of Bukom, of Jamestown, with so many skilled trainers, with so many well-accomplished managers. So we wanted to spend some time and align ourselves with some great talent, because our aim, in essence, is to have a world champion from Ghana, but that is also trained by a Ghanaian with a Ghanaian promoter, which hasn't been done before as a trifecta. And the aim of us is to cover all of those bases from that standpoint. And the strategic moves that we've made in terms of the type of fighters that we signed, the companies that we've aligned with, the DAZNs, the Matchroom Boxings, the 258 of Anthony Joshua as well. All of these things coming together, tapping into the blood, sweat and tears that have gone several years ahead of us. All of the combination of all this coming together is very important, and that's exactly what we're trying to drive right now.
And so you heard David Aloka, who is the Chief Commercial Officer for Legacy Rise, speaking ahead of that particular bout. Let's now head to Europe, where it's another big night of European football as the UEFA Champions League quarterfinals take center stage across the continent. 2 crucial first leg ties are on the schedule, with Europe's elite clubs battling for a place in the semi-finals of the competition. In the headline game, Real Madrid will host Bayern Munich at the Santiago Bernabeu in a clash of European giants. Elsewhere, Arsenal are also on the road as they do take on Sporting CP in Portugal. Now, ahead of tonight's UEFA Champions League quarter-final fixtures, managers are already expressing confidence in their team. Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta believes his side is ready for the challenge as they travel to Portugal to face Sporting tonight.
This is the quarter finals of the Champions League. It doesn't get much better than that, and we worked so hard throughout the season to be in this position in the competition. We're going to play an opponent here that we know about their records and what they've done. So hungrier than ever, very excited and very, very motivated for tomorrow's game.
So you heard Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta speaking ahead of their game. Meanwhile, Vincent Kompany, who's also head coach of Bayern Munich, is optimistic his side can secure positive results despite a difficult trip to face Real Madrid in Spain.
The version of Real Madrid that we have to prepare for is the best Real Madrid. The one that we saw against Man City, the one that performed in that game, that's what we have to prepare for. And then if you base it on that Real Madrid, then you know, it's still one of the best teams in Europe. It's still, you know, maybe the toughest game you can play away from home in this competition. So those are all reasons in my eyes that make it a positive experience. We want to play this game and we want to win the game.
And so you heard Bayern Munich head coach Vincent Kompany speaking ahead of their particular clash against Real Madrid tonight, bringing an end to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 and also Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. For more updates on business and news, join us same time tomorrow. My name is Andrew Sifa Bamfo.
What is your favorite scripture?
Well, my favorite scripture is Romans 8:28.